Hey folks, this is Rich. You're with South Florida Beekeeping with Rich. I'm making this video last day or two of November. It won't be seen until sometime in January, so the temperatures right now is 85 degrees here, next to last day of November. The humidity is about 75%, which is comfortable for us down here. It's about as good as it gets most of the time. It'll be a little chillier in January when you guys see this video, but I was excited. I've got to show you what's going on right now. So I recently an ad caught my eye. I clicked on it and it took me to Mountain Sweet Honey Company in Tascoa, Georgia. mountainsweethoney.com. We'll put a link in the description. And they had 8-frame Ceracell bee escapes for a very reasonable price. Well, I got all excited because Ceracell bee escapes have only come in 10-frame up till now, as far as I know. I've looked for them many times. I've lusted after one of these for a long time. And the shipping from Australia, because there just didn't seem to be anybody in the United States carrying them. And then people did start carrying them and the price was above 40 bucks. And it's like, I've got bee escapes that work, so I just never got one. But we're going to talk bee escapes here for a moment before we get to the Ceracells. So this is the most common bee escape in the United States, most likely. In fact, just yesterday I saw a video of somebody who just used these for the first time and thought they were terrific, and they're going to make a bunch more of them because it is something you can make yourself at home. This one I did buy professionally, and they really don't work very well in South Florida. And again, the reason they don't work in South Florida is that we have drones pretty much 365. I mean, yeah, we get into December, there's not too many drones, but we're not normally harvesting honey in December. We always have a certain amount of drones. And when I have tried using this bee escape at honey harvesting time, what's always happened is these get clogged with drones and the bees don't go anywhere. You put this on the night before, you come out the next morning, you put on your fume board and you go to take it off and you've still got hundreds if not thousands of bees in the super. No good. It's because, I mean, you can't change things. I mean, you can only have this 3/8 of an inch right here. You can't make it bigger. You know, it's got to be no more than 3/8 of an inch high and no more than 3/8 of an inch here.
So how does this one work?
Well, the way these work,
The way this one works.
they all work the same way. You put them on with this side down. You can either just leave them there passively if you have a whole bunch of these and bees work their way down through and they don't come back up. You want to put them on one day and come out and harvest them from them the next, because if you give them a few days, the bees start figuring out how to get back up. But the bees will come close to clearing themselves out overnight on their own. And if you come out the next morning with a fume board and you put the fume board up here, you can drive the rest of them out. They go in through this hole and, you know, then they go out through here and then they go out through here. And you're left with fewer bees back up in because it's not as easy to find your way back in as it was to find your way out. Basic theory for all these boards. But on this one, every time I've tried using it, it's ended up getting clogged with big fat drones. So I went from that to this, and I have no complaints about this form. You can buy the plastic piece all by itself. And again, it works the same way. You have it turned like this. Bees go through here, and they come out the two ends. They can make a somewhat more restricted space down here. And I recently saw a picture of somebody who did something brilliant, and I was going to do this myself until I got this option. You can take one of these and cut it right down the middle, and you can put these two cut ends hard up against the two sides right here and drill 2 holes in the middle. So instead of having one exit for the bees in the middle, you would have a whole exit over here and an exit over here. And so in theory, certainly twice as many bees can get out, and that's brilliant. And I was going to go ahead and do that to this one and probably order a couple of more. That's one of those winter projects I hadn't gotten around to yet. But I got the opportunity. I've been reading about these Ceracell bee escapes for years. Everybody in Australia swears by them and loves them, and it's like, wow, talk about the luxury penthouse of bee escapes. This one goes on like this, and it's cool. It's even got a little tab here, 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 and here. And I just heard that thing go click. And it's like, oh, that was cool. You know, they don't really move around much, even though this is a nice, heavy duty, really tough plastic, by the way. So you put this on top, the bees go into this trough, they go into not 2, not 3, but 10 exits. And they're small exits. And as you can see, they're up here high, so it's not even all that reasonable for the bees to still be wandering around. I mean, on this one or this one, the bees are still wandering around at the same level on the board, and so their chances of finding their way in are probably greater. On this one, you know, they exit here, but the top of the frames is, oh sure, the top of the frames is, you know, probably a good 3/4 of an inch down here somewhere. They're not even right on top of them. So when they exit, it's not like they can turn around and walk back in. When they exit, they're going somewhere else. I can't wait till next spring to use this along with my little homemade fume board with the little fan pump on it, so that we'll see how quick we can clear a super. I'm betting that I can clear 2 supers more than likely within 15 minutes tops. I can pop this on, put those back on, blow them, just let them stink their way out of there with a little soft fan going. 28 bucks from Mountain Sweet Honey Company.
And you're not getting the kickback.
And I'm not getting the kickback, yeah. But, you know, if I was paying the shipping's pricey. Right now, both Man Lake and Dedant have gone to $150 order for free shipping. Mountain Sweet Honey Company is at $125. So what did I get to get free shipping? Well, some cool stuff. The first thing I was hoping for more of a thrill on was the bright yellow feeder. Now, a lot of people are carrying these, but since I already have a goodly number of feeders, I didn't really need to buy any more feeders at this point, but it was like, oh, they weren't really giving the dimensions on this. I wasn't sure. Well, they give the dimensions, but you know what? They always give the dimensions of the inside piece. And the inside piece, yeah, it fits inside a nuke, right? You don't need an oversized top forward or anything. That's fine and good as far as it goes, but if you can't put your lid on, what's the point? You know, you've got to basically extend these. Well, you leave this board the same, and you take these boards and you lap them over here so that you get 3/4 of an inch on both sides and you get a little overlap. It's okay, not hard to do, but it's another piece of beekeeping equipment which has a different set of proportions than your standard stuff. It's good quality. We'll compare it here with the rapid feeder. The rapid feeder does the same thing. You can get here, but it's even slightly snugger there, and the lid doesn't work. Now, it's still okay when I'm bringing up swarms and things. These rapid feeders, even though they didn't do the job I was hoping for, they still do fine. But let's just compare them. In both cases, the lids are a little more rigid. The one on the yellow one here is definitely thicker, which is a big plus. In both cases, they
Down here.
oh, I'm sorry. In both cases, they extend slightly out the bottoms for orientating it correctly on the board above. Interestingly enough, this yellow one has vent holes in the lid here and vent holes in the lid here. I presume that's somebody's idea that it helps get rid of moisture. Since I feed damp sugar, it's not a priority for me. I've always liked the fact that these don't have holes in them, because that way the moisture that comes up just moistens the sugar that much more, and it makes it more easily taken up by the bees. So I'll use this one next spring, but if that sugar starts drying out and getting hard too quick, I'll plug those holes up. We'll see. Which, just so you know, these cheap Chinese ones do fit. Okay, you can find these anywhere on the internet. They call them hummingbird feeders. You can't feed a hummingbird with this, but for some strange reason the Chinese thought it would be more attractive advertising to advertise them that they could be used for hummingbirds. I have one, well, they're brittle. Those are very flexible plastic. These are a little on the brittle side. I mean, when I ordered 5 of them, 2 came in with cracks in them. Repairable. But the thing I complain about most on these is that the ridging on this centerpiece is insufficient. So what I did was to take some propolis, heat it up, and smudge propolis onto here so that the bees have more traction for climbing up. You know, once they climb up on the inside here and they want to start back down, they didn't have enough traction and they were drowning down in here. But once I did this, that stopped happening. So they, of course, are flush on the bottom. You need to be careful, make sure the last thing you do is line them up before you close up the hive, because if you bump them, well, they could slide off to one side, and they couldn't really slide off too far to one side if you have them in a nuke. They'd still work. So, just so you know, if you go to the Mountain Sweet Honey Company and you see these, don't think they're going to work in your nuke unless you make a slightly oversized shim. Doesn't have to be a lot oversized. So the next thing I got was something that I've often wished other people had when they come to take my bees. A really big laundry bag. So there's a bag for covering an entire hive for transport in the back of your car or whatever. Or you can use it to play a ghost on Halloween. Or, or a little mini workshop area here so the bees can't get in. I don't know. Plenty big anyway.
Can you get it back in the bag?
Yeah, my wife wants to know if I can get it back in the bag. Actually, my original plan before these came in was I was just going to get a couple of gallon Ziploc bags and put these in, and yeah, it's going to work. Oh, interesting. This one has a zipper. I think it really was a laundry bag and they repurposed it this way. Okay. This is one for a nuke. Let's see how that zipper works. Yeah, it worked. Zip. Okay, well, that's one way to get a nuke home. That worked out all right. And the last cool thing I got, I've wasn't sure how this was going to work when it got here. But it's like, oh, that's cool. I thought it was a 2-piece unit of some sort, but it turned out it's a 1-piece unit. And it turned out that it's stainless steel. I'm sure it's repurposed from something else, but again, they're calling it a wax melting pot. It is a double boiler, all sealed up. You put your water in there. You fill the sleeve that's between these two sides from this point right here. There is a whistle on the bottom. So if it starts whistling, you know you need to turn it down somewhat because you don't want to go boiling all your water out. But you put your wax in there. It's a nice, sturdy, strong, well-made unit, and you can pour your wax out of there. I'm looking forward to using this. I'll probably find an excuse to do so sometime in the very near future, just to see how well it works. But for the moment, it looks to be well designed. I mean, small for the backyard beekeeper, yes, but it looks to be well designed and very well constructed. So I'm looking forward to enjoying that. And you always have to have something to round out the order to get you above that, in this case, $125 mark. And I did that with a couple of 8-frame queen excluders, $6 a piece. Given what, I mean, I needed some 8-frame queen excluders for sacrificial material not too long ago. I wanted to cut them up for some other things. And even though I had a couple here at home, I thought, well, let me see what they're going for online. And it's like, not that long ago, I'm not remembering the good old days, I'm remembering a year ago when plastic 8-frame excluders like this could be purchased for $4 or even $3. And all of a sudden lately, everybody wants more than $10 for their excluders, but these were $6 a piece. So it made an excellent item to round out the order and get it above $125. Good quality, nice and flat. I like them better than the plastic ones I currently have because it feels like a sturdier plastic. They're certainly more flexible. So I'll get good use out of those. So there you go. It takes me a while sometimes to find enough stuff to make an order up and get free shipping. But most importantly, it gave me an excuse to get my wonderful 8-frame bee escape from Ceracell.
How do you spell Ceracell?
C-E-R-A-C-E-L-L. It's an Australian company. They're very innovative, very creative. Some of their stuff, I'm like, I don't know about that. But they've got a lot of really, really good and creative items. And I've been wanting one of these since the first time I saw it, well over a year ago. But they never had 8-frames. So here we go. You're not going to get this on camera. I'm just going to read it. Ceracell, Bees for Life. This is called The Great Escape. And it comes from www.ceracell.com.New Zealand. I'm sorry. My apologies to everyone in New Zealand. I said this was an Australian company. And it's not. It's a New Zealand company. But looking forward to them. And it's like, hey, Rich, you have 3 hives. Why'd you get 2? Well, because I figure I'm going to put it on one. And the next morning I'm going to come out and I'm going to put the other one on the next hive. And I'm going to work on taking the honey from the first hive. And when I'm done with that and I put those back, I'll take the Ceracell off the first hive and I'll put it on the third hive. And then I'll work on the second one. I don't figure I need 3. I figure I only need 2 to work 3 hives. And if I wanted to take an extra day, I could have gotten away with just 1. But I figured, hey, they're available. They've done a run of these. They're going to see how the sales go. And if sales don't go well, this thing will disappear from the market. So I figure I better get my 2 while the getting was good. Because you never know. But I'm excited about these, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to really love it. So this is Rich. This is South Florida Beekeeping with Rich. The reason for these, of course, is in South Florida we always have drones, and always having drones, these older styles tend to get clogged up, but I don't think you could clog this thing up if you tried. So everybody, so you're going to see this in January. So everybody, you better be paying close attention if you're in South Florida. Your beekeeping season is ready to go. By the third week in January, you better have all your ducks in a row, have all your plans laid out, because about the third week in January, the red maples are going to bloom, and once the red maples have bloomed, that's the starting gun. The season has started. They're going to start building up their numbers, and you'll get swarming if you're not on top of things at that point. So that's one quick tip. We don't have till March to think about these things. We've got to, you better have all your plans in place by the end of the second week in January, because by the third week in January, you need to be out there executing your plans. So again, this is Rich. Like and subscribe, everybody, if you want to know how to beekeep in South Florida as opposed to anywhere else in the country. Have a great day. See you later.